Welcome to Touring Globe.
Join me as I explore limits of UK tourists. As of February 2025, the UK Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office, FCDO, continues to issue updated travel advisories for various countries and regions across the globe. These advisories serve to warn UK travellers of potential risks, whether from political instability, conflicts, natural disasters, or other safety concerns. Below are the countries that have been deemed either off-limits or restricted in some capacity, making travel to these destinations highly dangerous and often inadvisable for tourists. Countries with all travel advisories: do not travel. 1. Afghanistan. The security situation in Afghanistan remains highly volatile, with ongoing armed conflict between the Taliban and various factions. The risk of violent attacks, kidnappings, and terrorism remains exceptionally high, making travel dangerous. Foreign nationals are at risk of being targeted, and consular assistance may be limited. 2. Belarus. Following the Belarusian government's crackdown on dissent and ongoing political instability, Belarus is considered a high-risk country for UK nationals. The UK government has warned against all travel to Belarus, particularly after the country's increasing alignment with Russia and its involvement in the Ukraine conflict. 3. Haiti. Haiti is facing a severe crisis characterized by political instability, rampant gang violence, and widespread civil unrest. There have been reports of kidnappings, violent protests, and a general breakdown of law and order. Due to these factors, travel to Haiti is highly discouraged, and visitors are advised to avoid all but essential travel. 4. Iran. Iran remains a high-risk destination due to strained relations with the West, ongoing protests, and the potential for arbitrary detention of foreign nationals, particularly those with dual nationality. The UK government continues to advise against travel to Iran due to the high likelihood of arrest, detention, or other politically motivated issues. 5. Lebanon. Lebanon is currently grappling with political instability and a fragile security situation, exacerbated by the ongoing tensions with Israel and internal conflicts. Armed groups operate in certain areas, and there are significant risks to personal safety. The UK FCDO urges caution and advises against all but essential travel, particularly in volatile areas like southern Lebanon and parts of Beirut. 6. Libya. Libya has been in a state of turmoil since the 2011 NATO intervention, with ongoing armed conflicts and the lack of a unified government. Travel to Libya is strongly discouraged due to the risks of violent conflicts, kidnapping, and terrorism. There are also limited consular services available for UK citizens. 7. Russia. Given the current geopolitical climate and Russia's invasion of Ukraine, the UK has strongly advised against travel to Russia. The country is experiencing severe tensions with the West, and the UK government has limited diplomatic relations, meaning British citizens may face significant difficulties if they get into trouble. Risks include detention, harassment, and other state-led threats to foreign nationals. 8. South Sudan. South Sudan remains a country in conflict, with ongoing civil war, armed clashes, and widespread insecurity. The FCDO advises against all travel to South Sudan due to these high risks, including violence and the absence of sufficient infrastructure for safety or medical care. 9. Syria. Syria's civil war continues to ravage the country, with widespread violence, terrorism, and human rights abuses. Many regions, particularly those outside of Damascus, remain controlled by militant groups, making it extremely unsafe for tourists. The UK government strongly advises against all travel to Syria due to the risks of being caught in conflict zones, being detained by militant groups, or being targeted by airstrikes. 10. Yemen. Yemen is embroiled in a brutal civil war that has created an extremely dangerous environment for foreign nationals. The country has a high risk of terrorism, airstrikes, armed violence, and kidnapping. There is limited access to humanitarian aid, and infrastructure is severely damaged, making travel dangerous and ill-advised. 11. Mayotte, France. Mayotte, an overseas territory of France located in the Indian Ocean, has recently been affected by the impact of Cyclone Chido. As the region recovers, travelers are advised against all but essential travel due to the infrastructure challenges, potential hazards, and ongoing relief efforts. 12. New Caledonia, France. In New Caledonia, there are ongoing political tensions and occasional demonstrations. The FCDO advises against all but essential travel due to these unrests, especially after tensions between the Kanak indigenous people and French authorities fled. Natural hazards like cyclones can also impact travel plans. 13. North Korea. The security situation in North Korea remains highly unpredictable. The country has strict regulations for tourists and is known for its repressive regime, with foreign nationals facing potential arrest and detention if they inadvertently break rules. The UK advises against travel to North Korea due to these significant risks. Countries with specific area advisories, travel to certain areas should be avoided. 14. Algeria. Travelers to Algeria are advised to avoid areas within 30 kilometers of the country's borders with Libya, Mauritania, Mali, Niger, and Tunisia. These regions are often targeted by extremist groups, and there is a high risk of terrorist attacks and kidnapping. 15. Armenia. Travel to Armenia should be avoided within 5 kilometers of the border with Azerbaijan, as tensions over the Nagorno-Karabakh region continue. Military clashes and skirmishes remain possible in these areas, making them dangerous for foreign nationals. 16. Azerbaijan. The Nagorno-Karabakh conflict continues to impact the security situation in Azerbaijan. The UK government strongly advises against travel to the region and surrounding areas, particularly the border with Armenia, where military confrontations are still possible. 17. Benin. In northern Benin, there is a high risk of violent crime, including kidnapping by armed groups. Travelers should avoid these areas, particularly near the border with Burkina Faso, where extremist groups are known to operate. 18. Burundi. Due to political unrest and a history of ethnic violence, certain regions of Burundi remain off-limits to travelers. The FCDO advises avoiding Cibitoke and Bubanza provinces, where conflict-related violence has been reported. 19. Cameroon. The security situation in Cameroon is unstable, particularly in the regions bordering Nigeria and the Central African Republic. Travelers are advised to avoid the far north, and Adamawa regions, as well as areas near the border with Nigeria due to terrorism. 20. Chad. Chad has been affected by violence in the Sahel region, particularly along its borders with Libya, Sudan, and the Central African Republic. Travel to regions such as the Tibesti Mountains and Kanem Province should be avoided due to the risks of terrorism and violent clashes. 21. Congo, Republic of the Congo. Travelers should exercise extreme caution when visiting northern regions, especially those near the Republic of the Congo's border with the Central African Republic, due to armed violence and the threat of extremist groups operating in these areas. 22. Côte d'Ivoire, Ivory Coast. Northern regions, particularly those near the borders with Mali and Burkina Faso, are highly unstable due to the presence of armed groups and militant factions. Travel should be avoided in these areas to avoid kidnapping, ambushes, or terrorist attacks. 23. Djibouti. The border areas between Djibouti and Eritrea are considered high-risk zones due to past military skirmishes and tensions between the two nations. Travelers should avoid these areas to stay safe. 24. Eritrea. Travel to Eritrea should be avoided, particularly along the border areas with Ethiopia and Sudan. Ongoing tensions and military activity in these regions increase the risk of conflict and violence. 25. India. The UK government advises against travelling within 10 kilometers of the India-Pakistan border and specifically in the Jammu and Kashmir region. Thank you for watching. Kindly subscribe. See you in the next video.